Hey everyone, it's Tim Hinton. It's Friday morning. I'm looking a little scruffy, but I had something I wanted to share with you. I keep getting the same messages over and over, and so I feel like, okay, this is important. So let me remind everybody of this. I'm encouraging you to trust the process that you're in the middle of. Here's the way this first was brought up recently. I went to a rehearsal to work with a band, and I was there sort of helping with effects for the show and adding some movements and redesigning a few transitions, that kind of thing. I was sort of doing it hands-on. And the director, who is a really on the ball, really conscientious guy who really cares, he was really uncomfortable with the process of the day. It was going to take some time to sort of work things. Sometimes when you're trying to rebuild a transition, you have to do it 15, 20 times, and each time you change one little thing, and it just sort of changes, and you massage it a little bit, and you ask this person to do something else. Well, this director was so frantic to get the show right that he really had very, very uncomfortable, and he would sort of let me do things a couple times, and he'd run over and say, okay, what about this, or whatever. And so I was like, he didn't really understand about having the process play out and letting things happen and take the time that they require them to take. And I completely understand where he's coming from. It's very easy to think a lot about product, worry about the product. You want the product right now. You want your group to be so successful. You care so much. But sometimes you have to stop. You have to say, you know what, the product's going to happen. I have to keep big picture in mind. Sometimes you have weeks and months. Sometimes people have 5, 6 weeks left in the season, but they want the show perfect today. Well, of course you do. You want to be successful. But there's a process in place. So I'm encouraging you to let that process play out. If you have a plan for the big picture of the season, you should map it all out. This is sort of the way we're going to get everything done. Here's our priorities. Here's what we need to have in the show by this date. And you're sort of mapping an arc to the finish line. And then, of course, really good instructors and directors will take time at the beginning of each week and really map out that week. What are we going to accomplish today, and what am I going to accomplish this week? I had a really great instructor. He's got a young band, and they're completely overachieving. I mean, he's getting more out of those students than really should be happening. And yet, I sent him a list of suggestions. He sent me a videotape to look at. I do that sometimes for people. And I sent him a list of suggestions, and he responded like, I don't know how I'm going to get to all this. And what I told him was, look, you're not going to get to all of it right now. So you need to let the process play out. I said, prioritize the list of things you want to do to your show. And then each week, each rehearsal, check off a couple. Okay, here's what we're going to do today. Here's the most important thing that I want to do. I'm going to do it. And you'll gradually get some done. So you'll maybe get 2 or 3 done this week, maybe 2 next week. But over the course of time, they all get taken care of. But you can't think that you have to get them all done today, and the show has to be right today. The folks at Broken Arrow High School have taught their crowd, their audience at their football games about their process. And so now they've told them, look, our show's not going to be complete at the beginning of the season. It's going to develop, we're going to add things, and it's going to grow over the course of the season. So now the audience at Broken Arrow understands they're watching the process. And they watch the show in that context, and it's wonderful because they understand the show is developing, it's growing, it's changing, it's becoming more interesting each week. And the audience watches the shows each week from that point of view, and so they enjoy watching the process as well. They aren't sitting around the first game going, well, the band doesn't have very much on the field, or this isn't finished, or that doesn't look very good. But they have taught their audience, this is our process, watch it develop with us, be a part of that. It gives the audience a new context for watching the show, and it also gives them another reason to watch the show again the next week. So I love that idea about the process. You need to remember it, you need to make sure your staff understands that you need to have a plan, and you need to trust. Sometimes it takes time. If I take an hour to get something complex done today, it might be done for the whole season. But if you don't let that hour take its time, then the process doesn't play out, you don't get it done. So, long-winded way to say, trust the process, have a plan, let it take its time, relax, let the process play out. It'll work, you'll be successful, keep the big picture in mind. Trust your process.
Have a question for a Roundtable talk, or have a suggestion for a podcast topic or guest? Go to marchingroundtable.com and click here on Feedback, or here on Ask Tim a Question. Don't forget you can always find podcasts on topics that interest you by searching in our podcast archives. And when you go to YouTube to watch a Roundtable Talk video, make sure and subscribe so you never miss a single episode of Roundtable Talk.